Okay, we're opening up with worship, everybody.
Hallelujah.
We just did a blessing so far. Hallelujah. So, the first song we're going to listen to, worship to, is Paul Zach East, West, Psalm 103.
At the east to the west,
bless the Lord, oh my soul, always within me, bless His name. He forgives all sin. He's full of grace. His eyes are above, so great, so far east is from west. He brings us to us. Far east is from the west. Far east is from the west. For the Lord knows our frame. Sure eyes from dust to dust we fade, but His love will remain. Merciful those who fear His name. His eyes are above, so great, so love, far east is from west. He brings us across. Far east is from west. 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 And the steadfast love of the Lord from everlasting to everlasting. The steadfast love of the Lord from everlasting to everlasting. The steadfast love of the Lord from everlasting to everlasting. The steadfast love of the Lord from everlasting to everlasting. And His eyes are above, so great, so love, far east is from the west. He brings us from us. Far east is from the west. Far east is from the west. Far east is from the west. Far east is from the west.
come on.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, that's wonderful.
And 103, guys. So as sin gets removed from us,
Good God.
Hallelujah.
this will cause us to be restored.
Come on.
And this is the next one.
We long for Egypt in the wilderness, a kingdom made of dust. Built a life out of happiness, a paradise for us. We lost our meaning, drowned out the feeling, our hearts barely beating. Restore us again, God of our salvation. Revive us again in your failing love. Restore us again, God of our salvation. Revive us again in your failing love. We have trusted in weakness and chased the life we lead. down under the shadowlands, where confidence are king. We lost our meaning, drowned our feet, our hearts been beating. Restore us again, God of our salvation. Revive us in your unfailing love. Restore us again, God of our salvation. Revive us again in your unfailing love. Yeah! Holy Spirit, praise us again. Holy Spirit, lead our hearts back to you. Holy Spirit, bring us life once again. Holy Spirit, lead our hearts back to you. Restore us again, God of our salvation. Revive us again, your unfailing love. Restore us again, God of our salvation. Revive us again, your unfailing love.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Majesty.
And after we get revived and restored, what happens next?
We rejoice.
We move on to Zion.
Oh,
Rise.
brothers of Zion,
Let's go, brothers and sisters.
oh, Abraham's sons, hear the words of your father. Hear his promise of love. I will make you a blessing, so count the stars if you can. You will be a great nation. I'll give you this land. I will bring you back home. I'll bring you back home, my children. You will no longer roam, lost and alone in the night. There is nothing on earth that could take you away. Don't fear my daughters or sons of Abraham. I will wash you with water. I will offer the Lamb. Though your sins are like scarlet, they'll be whiter than snow. I've always been with you. I will never let go. I will bring you back home. I'll bring you back home, my children. You will no longer roam, lost and alone in the night. There is nothing on earth that can take you away. I will gather you under my wings. I will bring you all back home. I will bring you all back home again.
All right. Shabbat shalom, everybody. So we are trying all these new things, and we will shortly begin the teaching. How's everyone doing?
Blessed during our Shabbat.
Joyful.
So who's going back to the promised land?
I am.
We are.
The Mashiach, the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yes.
And today's teaching is on Toldot, Torah portion Toldot, which is generations, which is in reference to the generations, to Yishak and the patriarchs.
Yeah. So,
Connie?
I was
By the
noticing.
way, if you guys don't know, we got a blessing today. We woke up to Johnny and Crystal walking through the door.
God teleported us here, away from the fire, and into His presence.
Yes.
So I was noticing that Abraham got his name changed to Abraham.
Yes.
You know, and Yishak got his name directly, right on, right? And then Yaakov got his name changed to Israel.
Right.
So it's like a change, and then it's like same, right? It's just, and then another change. So it's like, whoa. You know, I just noticed that when we were singing or reading actually the prayers.
Nice.
So I just want
Yeah.
Take that. You can know
Thank you.
why did Isaac get to keep his name and not get it changed?
to.
Was he already blessed? So, I want to start with a little opening. Oh, let's start with prayer. Everybody, bow your hearts. We thank you, Abba, for this day, for the Shabbat rest that you have given us. We ask that as we come before you with humility, with joy, and a happy heart, that we are able to receive your Ruach, to be filled in abundance, to be able to receive a word today that will help us make our walk more straight, more towards you. Keep our eyes and our focus on what you have called us to do, your mission for our lives, and not our own desires, our own things that will take us away from your presence. We thank you for all the Remnant of Truth International, for those who are watching online. Father, we ask that you bless them, that you be with them wherever they're at and able to minister to their hearts. We lift up John and his family who cannot make it today. We ask that your Ruach bring healing and a strong hand upon them and continue to provide for all their needs, along with Reuben and Moni and all the house of Remnant of Truth International. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. And we lift up people that have been trapped in these fires, Father. I say your mighty wind blow and blow it out. And that will bring shalom to those that have lost what they had and give them an understanding that everything here is limited and it's going to be destroyed at one point or another. Nothing is forever except for your Ruach and your Spirit. So I'm planting each and every one of us and them. Amen.
Hallelujah. Thank you.
So I'd like to begin with the Hebrew alphabet because there's a few new people that have not seen this and even watching online.
Wonderful.
So Hebrew is a language that came forth through pictures. These are the pictures right here on this left side. And there's 22 letters going from Aleph down to Tav. Does anybody know them by heart?
Aleph, Bet, Gimel.
You're lucky, I saw you. But the point being is that these are pictures that hold a lot of meaning, and one word can have many meanings. So we're going to look at that. And they also hold a value system from 1 to 10, then 20 to 90, and 100 to 400. Not counting the suffix.
Mm-hmm. And there's how many suffixes are there?
I think there's 5.
Total revelation.
So Toldot is the Torah portion. Genesis 25:19, 28:9, and then we're going to be focusing on the Genesis aspect. Let's look at the word Toldot. So there's a lot going on right here. I'm sorry, but
Does that mean generations, right?
Toldot means generation.
And that's the one that's changed later on without the second vowel?
I don't know.
Right.
Do you know?
Alright.
Okay. So Toldot is spelled with the Tav, Vav, Lamed, Dalet, Vav, and Tav. I find it very interesting how they are. It's like a reflection. You have the Tav, Vav, and then it ends with a Vav, Tav. Okay. And the heart of the word is right here. So before you guys really look at mine, does anybody have anything they would like to bring to this word, generations? Or should I just keep going?
Oh.
Okay, so what I saw when it was speaking to me was after so many generations, we will be able to understand that is between the two covenants, the top represents the covenants, between the two covenants where there is the tent peg that will lead us to the door that connects us to the shepherd, Yahushua HaMashiach, which is in the heart. So
that's wonderful.
You can't come out. There's two covenants given, the Old Testament, the New Testament, right, as we know it in modern language. But it's when we can't be so one way and so the other. We can't be just Torah, and we can't be just the New Testament. It's the middle ground where we will find and dwell in the house of our shepherd.
And walk into the door.
And here are the values for these letters. So keep in mind that total number of 846.
846?
Yes. Okay. So Valad is Vav Lamed Dalet. So within Toldot we have the word Valad, which means, it literally means a boy, child, offspring, and it comes from Yalad, which is equal to a value of 44. And just for, I don't know if you guys seen this before, it would be like 2 dalits, right? 4 and 4, 2 dalits together instead of mem dalit, which would be the proper way to say 44. 2 dalits. And 2 dalits is in reference to David Jonathan, I know you've seen this before. Dalit, if we see, go back to the beginning. The Dalit is right here, and it's shown as like a triangle, which is a door, right? You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I believe it was Eric Bissell who did a little thing on this, showing how David is two Dalits, David, right? And they come upon each other to form the shield of David. And I find that very interesting. Not that we're supposed to have any symbols or anything, but I like this is a beautiful picture, and we're gonna look at something else. Isaiah, and so everyone turn to Isaiah 9:6. So within Toldot we have the word balad. Balad is actually found in Genesis when it speaks about Sarah being barren. She was without child. But in Isaiah 9:6, the word that's being used here is yalad. And we know the yod represents the right hand, and so we see a redemption coming for Sarah in all of Scripture, right? And right now, in Isaiah 9:6, would you like to read this?
Yeah, for a child shall be born unto us, a man shall be given unto us, and the rule is on his shoulder, and his name is called Wonder, Counselor, Strong El, Father of Continuity, Prince of Peace.
And so,
Of the increase of his rule and peace there is no end, upon the throne of Daud, and over his reign, to establish it and sustain it with right ruling and with righteousness from now on, even forever. The ardor of Yahuwah of hosts done this.
does this.
Does it?
He done it.
Well, he's dead.
But
No.
so we know until Toldot, which means generations, and it's talking specifically in this Torah portion about Isaac, and Isaac being that redemption aspect of Sarah being barren. You know, she gave birth to him in old age, and the child that's going to be born unto us is also the Mashiach.
Hallelujah.
And so we see that in Toldot. We can see that, and we know that Toldot is the generation, so we know that he's coming from this family line.
That's right.
Right? And so, again, this from David. And so, a little side note, this is what a snowflake or frozen water could look like, will look like. Snowflake is always going to be formed in the atmosphere and as it gets formed, it's going to grow. It starts off with a little piece of ice and it grows out in a hexagonal pattern. So we see, I don't know, how many of you guys see the Star of David here? Right there.
Yeah.
Right? And so the interesting thing, we'll try to watch this video. I don't know if it's going to work well.
Chemistry is in everything, including snow. Crystallography allows us to study the arrangement of atoms in a snowflake crystal. Though they all start pretty much the same.
Okay.
Once they begin crystallizing, it's true that no two snowflakes are alike. In fact,
The enemy is trying to come against us. And we're
Yeah, it's the video. Doing with PowerPoint.
Alright.
But I could look at it on
Can you play it on YouTube now?
on YouTube. Bear with us.
Hallelujah. Patience is a gift of the Ruach HaKodesh.
Hallelujah.
Bye. We have all kinds
Oh my goodness.
You're not being funny. Okay, you're not being funny.
Six patterns and six of them are men.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And
Right.
what's very interesting is that a snowflake, for it to begin, a water drop needs to land on a piece of dust.
Oh, baby.
Otherwise, it turns into hail. and it won't form as snow.
Oh, so, wow, that's very interesting.
Beautiful.
And
And on other planets, they say that there's life on that planet if they find water. Well, I mean, water's essential, so,
Right.
I mean, obviously. It's not.
Do you have another name? It's chemistry snowflake, maybe?
yes, that should work. Not the same one, but
The chemistry is not
Chemistry is in everything, including snow. Crystallography allows us to study the arrangement of atoms in a snowflake crystal. Though they all start pretty much the same, once they begin crystallizing, it's true that no two snowflakes are alike. In fact, the number of possible shapes is staggering. A snowflake starts as a dust grain floating in a cloud. Water vapor in the air sticks to the dust grain, and the resulting droplet turns directly into ice. Crystal faces appear on the frozen droplet. Then a prism forms with 6 faces and a top and bottom. A cavity forms in each prism face because ice grows fastest near the edges. Faster growth on the corners causes 6 branches to sprout. The lines in each branch are due to ridges and grooves on the surface. These 6 branches form the corners of a hexagon, which occurs because the water molecules chemically bond into a hexagonal network. When the temperature cools to -13 Celsius, new growth at the branch tips narrows. At -14, side branches sprout on each branch. Suddenly, the crystal encounters a quick blast of warmer air, followed by cooler air, and more side branches sprout. The crystal gradually warms, making the tips long and narrow. The crystal encounters even warmer air, which slows the growth and widens the tips. Finally, this unique and delicate structure falls to the earth, along with countless other snowflakes. Cool, right? Over the years, crystallographers have been classifying snow crystals into different categories based on their arrangement of atoms. In the 1930s, there were 21 different classifications of snowflake, but by 2013, that number soared to 121. To see snow crystals at the molecular level, scientists send a beam of X-rays through a sample of snowflakes. The X-rays bounce off all the atoms in a snowflake and head in all different directions, sort of like the light up the sides of a disco ball. By seeing where these beams end up, we can figure out the arrangement of the snowflake's atoms, and therefore what it looks like at the atomic level. Who's to say what new snowflake categories crystallographers will find in 2016? But one thing's for certain, the ever-changing environment means that snowflakes can have a mind-boggling array of shapes. We're doing an audience survey right now, so be sure to check the description for the link.
okay. That was a side note, and I found it because I just came across it looking at the Shield of David, and how I really, the patterns that are formed in snow, I think is very powerful, beautiful, and see God's creation.
Yeah.
And I came across it and I Googled it, and it came up like a Jerusalem study looking at this stuff, so I'm like, I'll put it in.
Yeah.
And so, continuing with our study. So as we go, after this, alright, so as we saw earlier, we see Balad in Toldot. Do you have a question?
I was gonna say, is Remnant made up of dust and water?
Excuse me?
Like man? Made
Man?
out of dust and water?
Well, yes, sorry, that was my point, is that we are dust and water. We're created from the dust,
And we're all
and
individually
we are,
different.
we are at least 70, if not, some people say 80 to 90% water.
Wow.
And we're all different.
And we're all different, unique, and
Come on.
And I know that some of you have seen the studies done about vibrations and words spoken to water, and when they get frozen, the patterns that come off of that,
Yeah.
or even getting water from the tap versus the water from a living source like a spring, that when you freeze them, you get positive, beautiful
Crystals.
crystals and shapes with the live ones.
Right.
And then those that have been spoken negatively or kind of straight from the tap are very disfigured and not nice looking.
I know. I've been writing love, joy, and
And like she said, the 6 is the number of man.
The 6 is the number of
and
man.
6 is false.
Exactly.
hallelujah.
So there's a lot of beautiful things in there. Okay, so moving forward, look at that. Mishkan Otecha. Where do you guys know that from? Mishkan Otecha.
Jacob. Yeah.
Matohu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkan Otecha Israel. All right. So this word Mishkan Otecha, what does it mean? Does anyone know? Yes, dwelling places. The full word Mishkan Otecha is your dwelling places. And it's spelled Mem, Shin, Kaf, Nun, Vav, Tav, Yod, Kaf, Sofit. But we're not going to give it the Sofit value. But as we see it spelled out, it has the same equivalent as Toldot. So Abraham's generations is a dwelling place of the Most High.
Hallelujah.
And this word is found in Psalms 43:3. Can someone turn to it and read the whole thing? Bianca, it's very short.
Psalms 43.
Yes. So read the whole thing.
Rule me rightly, O Elohim, and plead my cause against the nation without loving commitment. O deliver me from a man of deceit and unrighteousness, for you are the Elohim of my strength. Why have you rejected me? Why do I go mourning because of oppression of my enemies? Send forth your light and your truth. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to your set-apart mountain and to your dwelling places, that I may come to the slaughtered place of Elohim, to El, the joy of my delight, and praise you with the lyre. O Elohim, my Elohim, why are you depressed, O my being, and why are you restless within me? Wait for Elohim, for I shall yet thank him, and the deliverance of my face and my Elohim.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
So, Psalms 43:3, send forth your light and your truth. Let them lead me, let them bring me to your set-apart mountain and to your dwelling places. Instantly, I thought of John 1:9, and it says, he was the true light. He enlightens every man coming into the world.
Yeah.
And down, jumping over to John 1:14, and the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us. And we saw his esteem as of an only begotten, or only brought forth of a Father, complete in favor and truth. Who is the dwelling place of the Most High? Yahushua. So his manifestation into this world became the dwelling place of our beautiful Creator, and we see all his aspects in Yahushua. So this is just the beginning on Toldot. The word Toldot, we find these things, the generations. So I do want to focus a little bit more on Yeshak, more than anything else in this Torah portion, because we really don't know much about Yeshak. There's not much information given about him. The last three Torah portions, Lech Lecha, Vayera, and Chaye Sarai, or Sarah, was all about Abraham, and there are a greater number of Torah portions dedicated to Jacob. Isaac is only the central figure of this Torah portion. When they look for his wife, he is nowhere to be found. And until his bride comes to him, as he is coming out of his afternoon meditation. That's when we find him. He's coming out of his afternoon meditation. And which is why the Mincha prayers is the afternoon prayers that is given. They say that it comes from Isaac. And it is a time transition, which is very interesting. Surprisingly enough, Ishak lived longer than his fathers and his son, 180. Right? Abraham lived 175. And how much did Jacob live?
Jacob?
Yeah. 147. Even in this Torah portion, we don't find much information on Isaac, on who Isaac was. So let us dig into his name and into his mannerisms to see what we can, glean from this man who is said to be a type of the Mashiach. Right? He's a type of Mashiach. So but before we get into him, let's begin with Abraham. What kind of characteristics does he have?
Obedience.
He's obedient. I like that.
It's beautiful.
He's faithful, yes, definitely.
He's a seeker.
He's a seeker.
Right.
Seeker.
Yeah,
So, anything else?
Doesn't conform.
Doesn't conform.
Hospitality.
Hospitality,
Yeah.
that's what I was looking for. They're all true. He was a giver. He was very hospitable. And then he's also, you could say, an extrovert. He's adventurous, right? He goes forth because he had the faith. And he went forth and he has great faith. And it is taught that Abraham is equated with the divine attribute of chesed, loving kindness. Because he continually gave from wherever he was. The book of Joshua states what? That he had a garden, a big old garden open on all four sides.
Well, he liked the garden, and it was like, all right.
He had a garden that was open on all four sides, allowing for any passerby to come in to the garden and to receive whatever they were in need of.
Yeah.
He would also have clothing ready for them. So it is thought that Abraham was the very embodiment of kindness, generosity, and concern for one's fellow. He was the ultimate extrovert, constantly giving of himself, constantly expanding himself to Elohim, to his fellow men, and to the world. Not just to one of these aspects, right? And he went on a crazy journey from Ur Kasdim all the way up to Haran and down finally to the land of Canaan, Shechem, or that area.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Isaac's characteristics, on the other hand, Isaac is equated to Sephirah, the Sephirah Gevurah, which means restraint, right? So on the tree of life, you have the Chesed, and opposite of that is not. Sorry. Well, you have Gevurah, which means restraint. And Isaac was his father's diametric opposite. He was awe to Abraham's love, restraint to Abraham's expansiveness, and he was self-effacement to Abraham's self-assertion. So he was not, Abraham was all about giving, and he was like in the picture, like, you know who I am, so I can tell you what our awesome Father in heaven has given me, so I can give to you. Isaac, on the other hand, was more, he would do things, but not make himself known. He was very reserved. He did not leave Canaan at all his whole life, right? He stayed in Canaan, the promised land, his whole life. He was born, or he dwelled at least in Be'er Laharoi, which means what? Do you guys remember? The well where the living one sees. Right? Yes. And then from there, in this Torah portion says he goes and dwells in Gerar. After Gerar, he moves a few times. We got Esek, Sitna, Rehoboth, and then he goes to Beersheba. So, from Abraham, we inherited charitableness and social commitment. That is the hallmark of our people, right? The Jewish people, they claim these things. I got this from the website Chabad because it's really hard to find good information on these people. But Isaac bequeathed us the fear of heaven in the heart of the Jew. His self-censoring discipline, his silent sacrifice, his humble awe before the majesty of the Creator. Whereas Abraham was very loving and outspoken, Isaac was more humble and well, they're both humble, but he was more reserved and in a kind of awe. You know, he's like, whoa, let's make sure we don't do anything wrong kind of man. Where, you know, Abraham kind of did some stuff that might have been questionable. So, Abraham's love of Elohim and humanity took him on a journey from the self outward, a journey etched in the roads of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Canaan. Isaac never left the boundaries of his homeland, for his was an inward journey, a journey into the depths of self, to the essence within.
Wow.
So let's look at his name, Yishak. We have Yod, Sadi, Het, Kuf. His name itself means laughter. But within this word, we can see that he's a man that was always in worship, right? As we see that he's in meditation, he was in awe and worship and thanksgiving. He was always on the path of righteousness, fenced in the promised land, fenced in, not going outside the Torah, not going outside the word of Elohim. And he's in a point that's kind of transitional. It's maybe not fully material, not fully spiritual. He's in kind of bridging a gap right there, which is what is in reference to the kuf, right? It's a sunset. So the sun is not up and it's not down. And there's a lot said, and that's why in Mincha prayer, they say some interesting things that I don't know. Thus, Isaac is portrayed as a farmer and a well digger. Isaac was a farmer, one who has learned the profound secrets of the seed that grows and profit come. That growth and profit comes only when you allow yourself to distinguish and become one with the soil. Disintegrate and become one with the soil from which you have come. Isaac was a digger of wells, boring through the strata of emotion and experience in search of quintessential waters of the soul, boring deeper than feeling, deeper than desire, deeper than achievement, to the selfness at the core of self. So we see his name has a value of 208, right? 100 plus 90 plus 10 plus 8, 208. And if we were to reduce that, 208, 2 plus 8 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. So he was at one with the Creator continually.
Wow.
He was always searching out his will, the Creator's will. Even when Rebecca comes to him, what does he tell her? About her, to pray, right? Why she hasn't born a son. He prayed for her. Right. And so he's a Mashiach figure. He's always in between realm, grabbing us from the physical world and attaching us to the Father. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so Abraham, what he does is he brings heaven to earth. He opens the blessings from the heavens, the Shamayim, and allows it to flow from him to those he comes across. He was a gracious host, providing passerbys with food, drinks, and other necessities. He was a missionary, proselytizing his adulterous generation, teaching them the concept of one Elohim, revealing the unity of Elohim, heretofore hidden from humanity. Abraham brought down not only the knowledge of Elohim, but also his presence in the world. He brought down the flow of divine benevolence and blessings. He brought holiness into this world from above. He was chesed. He was bringing the compassion and the love the Father has for this world. Isaac was a little different. He personified the Sephirah of Geburah, strength. It's a strength of restraint. And after his father, Abraham followed the call of Elohim, brought Isaac to the altar to be a burnt offering. Even though Elohim substituted a he-goat for him, Isaac was considered an oleh, the offering of ascent. Mm-hmm. So what Isaac does is, instead of bringing down the blessings, he lifts up the world to him. Right? Thus, his mode of service was of Eliyah, ascent, elevating the physical world to the spiritual realms. This is also evident from the biblical account of Isaac uncovering the wells. A well which allows water to be drawn upward serves here as a metaphor for the service of elevation. Right? So, any questions so far? Comments?
The question was talking about the kuf, the bridging the gap between the physical and the spiritual, and like just bridging that gap. Is the kuf also like found in the word Melchizedek?
Yes, it is.
So I was thinking like Messiah too, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I like
It's like a shadow picture of Messiah, right? It's Messiah, right?
Yeah. I love it. Woo! Malik Sadiq. I found it twice. No. No, like that. Okay. Yeah.
About the wells, I didn't understand very well.
So a well is within the earth.
Yeah.
And so
Because Abraham made a well.
Yeah.
he did. But there's no account of when he made it, what he named them. There's right? Do you guys know any time he does that? Only in this Torah portion do we read that Abraham made wells and that the Philistines stuffed it up.
Yeah.
And it's Isaac, the one that reopens them.
Yeah.
So I had a little something, but I took it out. But so what that was for me as I was reading this and studying and praying was that Abraham was one that was constantly giving from the Shamayim. He was bringing his presence into those. But that won't secure anybody. You can't change anybody. So you could do all you can. You could constantly give from the heavens. Yahuwah could give from the heavens. But the people themselves, if they could receive it and enjoy it, but unless they dig their own wells,
Right.
they won't be able to. They won't understand. They would be right. It's given to Isaac to show this elevation. They're not elevating themselves, so it's just to show that kind of different aspects of each other.
Right. To dig within himself. And
You have so an interesting account is that the Torah portion says that there's a famine in the land of Canaan, and so there's a famine. But he tells Isaac not to go to Mitzrayim, not to leave the land, whereas before he told Abraham to leave. Abraham is a doer; he's going out. He tells Isaac to stay. As he stays, he sows seed. The only patriarch to sow seed, and that is at least given to us in Scripture. That tells us. And as he sowed, what does he do? He gets blessed 100-fold. Not 60, not 30, 100-fold. And so you think this whole land of Canaan is in a drought, they're in a famine, but Isaac is prospering beyond belief. There's no account of him being like having the same kind of chesedness that Abraham has. I'm not saying he didn't, but the reason it doesn't say that is because much like the Toldot, you can't be so far on one side and so far on the other. You have to be in the middle. And it's not about one covenant or the other covenant. It's not about just giving, and it's not just about being yourself by yourself. It's finding that middle ground.
Abraham, Isaac.
Yes, the middle, Isaac.
That's why the name didn't change.
And that's why the name didn't change. And even his name, to laugh, right? Laughter. Have you guys ever been like so like awestruck that kind of brings that chuckle, an inward chuckle out of you? It shows like he was constantly in that kind of awe-ness of our Creator.
That's why his name is Ishak.
Yeah, he's like, what? So, very powerful.
Yeah.
So, we're already coming to the end of the study. There's so much more. But there's 5 events that have to do with Isaac, the Philistines, and the wells. 5 events that happen, right? The first is when the Philistines stop up Abraham's wells. Abraham was loved by everyone and respected during his time in the time that he was alive. But when the famine hit Canaan, Isaac was told not to leave, and he was blessed 100-fold of what he sowed, while the rest of Canaan must have been suffering. So perhaps some jealousy entered the hearts of these Philistines, who had once a good respect for Abraham. They became jealous, and when they become jealous, they do bad things, right? We should not be jealous people. And so, what do? They stop up his wells and they ask him to leave, right? So that's the first event. Jealousy came into the heart of the inhabitants. Event 2.
I'm sorry, what was the name that he gave that first well?
He didn't give a name. He renamed them the names that Abraham had given them. It doesn't give us the names. So, and there might have been many wells. It says Abraham's wells. We don't know how many or what their names were. So, event 2, we see that Isaac moves to the Wadi Gerar. He digs his own well. And we'll see this in Genesis 26. But when Ishak's servants dug in the wadi and found a well of running water there, the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Ishak's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with it. Strife. Esek means a strife. And so when there is envy and jealousy, there can easily arise arguments and contention. People you have never had issues with can become a great enemy in their jealousy and want to bring your downfall. That's event 2. Notice that Ishak is very calm. There's nothing saying that he reacted. Right, he's going. So event 3, accusation. And it says, and they dug another well, and they strove over that one too. And he called its name Sitna. Sitna comes from the word Satan. Same word, the accuser. This is the 3rd event that Isaac is enduring to be able to live peaceably. This reminds me of Yahushua fasting for 40 days in the wilderness, and Satan comes 3 times trying to get Yahushua to fall. But you endure, right? And as James 4:7 says, resist the devil and he shall flee from you. Leading us to the 4th event. Event 4, Remnant. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called its name Rehoboth, and said, "For now Yahuwah has made room for us, and we shall bear fruit in the land." After all his enduring and resisting of the enemy, he was set free to a place of abundance, no more restrictions, able to grow freely. Instead of falling into the enemy's trap of reacting in all the other situations, he was calm and responded by moving away from the evil vibrations, thoughts, people trying to keep us down. Right? There's not all these events. It could be an outward source, but it comes from within as well. We know that Isaac was always in meditation and prayer. This is showing us that when we are in these situations, when we are coming with the bad thoughts, that kind of mentality, that we need to resist them, that we need to be calm and not react and not even respond to them, And then we will be given a place of freedom to bear fruit. So event 5, we're going to read the whole little event. Whatever you like to read. It's in Genesis 26:23.
26:23 says, and from there he went up to Beersheba, and Yahuwah appeared to him the same night and said, I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you, and shall barak you and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he built an altar there, and called on the name of Yahuwah, and he pitched his tent there, and the servants of Yitzhak dug a well there. And Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzah, one of his friends, and Pichol, the commander of his army. And Yitzhak said to them, Why have you come to me, seeing you have hated me, and have sent me away from you? But they said, We have clearly seen that Yahuwah is with you. And we said, Please, let there be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you do no evil to us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good toward you, and have sent you away in peace. You are now Baruch by Yahuwah. And they made a feast, and they ate and drank. And oh yeah, of course. And they rose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another. And Yitzhak let them go, and they departed from him in peace. And on the same day it came to be that the servants of Yitzhak came and informed him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, We have found water. So they called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day.
All right. So, where do you guys remember Beersheba? What happened in Beersheba before?
Abraham's wife, what's his name?
So right here. So we come back full circle to where Abraham and Abimelech made their covenant years ago
right.
at Beersheba, right? When he gave them 7 ewes.
And the word Sheba, I think, means swearing.
Wasn't Ishmael
It's
No.
by Beersheba? The Ishmael?
No.
Alright, that's all.
Are you thinking about Be'er Laharoi?
Maybe.
But alright. So this is where they come back together, right? And Proverbs 6:30 and 31 say, people do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his appetite when he is hungry. But if he is caught, he will pay sevenfold. He will give all the goods of his house. And we kind of always think about this as like a one-on-one situation, right? Like someone just broke into my house and this. But what was going on is that Abimelech and his people were stealing from Yishak. They were going in something, taking his wells that he himself dug that he had the right to, and they were taking it from him. And so, and it comes back all the way to Beersheba, meaning wells of 7 or 7 oaths, right? And so he's getting paid back sevenfold from the whole issue because he did not react. He didn't fall into the ways of the enemy. He was cool, calm. So we need to dig within ourselves these wells as we are moving forward with our journey. Things are going to arise, they're going to come up. Are we able to be like Isaac and say no to our desires, to our will, to our wants, and be able to be like he is, to be like Mashiach, willing to lay down his life, willing to go forth and be a light in the time of darkness, to be an intercessor. Any questions so far? So I like to end it then with, I don't know if it's a poem, but I found it and I thought it was really nice. So knowing what it means to be the ultimate sacrifice, Yishak becomes a digger of wells. First he dug his father's wells, then he sought out his own. Undeterred by what he might encounter, he dug the rich, thick earth. He dug through pain, through heartache, through his greatest fears. He dug until he reached an opening. Here he heard the mystery call, "With you I am." Yishak stands between day and night, guarding the passage, showing the way. Ata Gibor, you are strong, you are powerful, he says to Elohim and to us. Dig deep, don't be stopped by fear, let yourself fall. You will discover what lies beneath the surface. Through Yishak the mystery reveals itself and we are returned to life again and again. Defeated we rise, in our struggle we are held in love. The Holy One calls, do not be afraid, wherever you are, I am with you. Blessed is the mystery who restores us to life. Amen. Some of that is from the Amidah prayer. So, any questions, comments? Anything you want to hear again or see again?
So we have to dig our own wells to be more like Mashiach or like Yishak, you know, and have that inner Yah. I mean, inner oneness with Yah, right?
Sorry. I closed the YouTube stream. No, the whole time, from the beginning.
No way.
After the songs, I think I closed it.
No, I think it was on. I was watching it. I think. I shared it. Oh, no.
Well,
It's okay. It was my friends.
It was